Hi guys, my name is Reema, and first off, I would like to thank you all for the amazing response that you've given me on my first video. Even though I think it would have been made much better, but in fact, it was the comment section of that video that inspired me to create this whole collection for you this time. This one I call Basic Concepts in Spoken English, and a lot of questions that were asked to me, in fact, helped me put together the various chapters that I would be telling you about in this complete collection. So, one thing that I noticed was that we have a lot of great educators in An Academy who are telling us about the basics in English grammar, or who are talking to us about the nouns and the verbs and the pronouns. So, that is where you get your basics right, and I think you should follow them and understand more about it. My videos essentially are going to help you, hopefully, speak fluently in English, speak clearly in English, level then. Moving on, I'll just tell you a little bit about myself. I'm presently the assistant editor of Femina magazine, which is the first, the oldest, and the most widely circulated English women's magazine in the country. And I started journalism at Jamia Millia Islamia University in Delhi, and later went to Paris for my master's too. I enjoy dancing, public speaking, theater, a bit of dramatics, etc., etc. You can follow me on this ID given here, and yeah, let me know if you have any feedback, any comments. I'd be happy to help. Moving on, my entire collection essentially is going to help you probably with your interactions with people. It's going to help you with your interviews, cracking interviews, other general examinations. Hopefully, CAT when you reach the other rounds, I guess. And my end goal or basic idea to create this collection is to make sure that you guys end up speaking the language fluently and to write better in English. So, I wanted to start off by telling you about this interesting piece of trivia that I came across in my research. I thought to myself that I have been speaking in English since the last so many years. When and how was the first word of English language spoken? And I realized that it has its roots in the languages of the Germanic peoples of Northern Europe. Yeah, so this was when I was researching, I found out that these were people who were living in these areas of Northern Europe very, very early on. And these Germanic people were actually referred to as the Indo European ethno-linguistic group. Okay, now why I'm telling you all of this, and probably this is not something that you need to remember or anything, this is just something very interesting, which I think should help as a morale booster for you. These Indo European or Proto Indo Europeans were actually referred to as the Aryans, who we supposedly refer to as our forefathers. We feel that we have descended from the Aryans. So, what I'm essentially trying to say here is that all languages somehow intermingle and or probably have originated in some ways from each other. So have the belief that you can speak in English and that you will be able to converse fluently, whether it's with your future boss, whether it's with your future employees when you start your own company. Just have that belief, okay? And research shows that you can do that. Okay, so hopefully, with that motivational note, I start off with the first doubt, which a lot of people asked me, which was how to differentiate between that and who and which. Like, if we're saying something, let's say the girl who was teaching this video is Rima. Okay, now how do I know where do I use who, where do I use that, and where do I use which? A very, very basic way to differentiate is that if you're talking about a person, a human being, then use who. If you're talking only about a thing or an object, then use which. That can be used for a human being as well as an object. Okay, so now these are basically known as relative pronouns, which essentially means that they are the ones that are telling us about the or they're describing the noun. Let's say over here, what is the noun? It's the girl. Okay, here, let's say I am the noun. Okay, I am the person that we're speaking about. So who is giving me information about the girl? So who is telling me that the girl is the one who's teaching English? Okay, so it basically relates the noun to its description. So if the noun is a person, then the relative pronoun becomes who. Okay, for instance, this is my book, I really like my book. this is my book that I really like. Now, here, interestingly, you could have used which as well. So, this is my book which I really like. That and which, in a lot of cases, can be used interchangeably. So, let's say, the person who I was speaking with really liked this play, which was being played at Kamani Auditorium. Okay, so over here also you can say the play that was being played. So it can be used interchangeably. A lot of people also ask me this, that they use comma before and after which or that. So how do we know when to use a comma and when not to use a comma? So this is also very, very simple. Let's say Rima Behel, who's the assistant editor of Femina, is teaching English at Unacademy. So over here, who is the assistant editor of Femina is just some additional information that you are getting about me. My sentence, as Rima Behel is teaching English at Unacademy, is also complete. So this is just extra or additional information that can be put in brackets. So if there is something that can be put in brackets, just put it within commas. That's when you use a comma. Otherwise, you let the sentence be the way it is without the usage of any comma. So use who for people, use that for people or objects, and use which only for objects. Okay, the table which was kept in the corner of the room had some objects on it. So over here again you will use a comma. Um, Another question which a lot of people asked was the I versus me debate. Okay, when do you use me and when do you use I? Very, very simple. Okay, let's say if I want to ask you, what do you think about me? If I say, what do you think about I, then it is wrong. So while me is the object, okay, let's say it's secondary. I is the subject. Okay. For instance, me and everyone else thinks. No, this is wrong. You have to say I and everyone else think. Why? Because here you're talking about yourself as the primary subject. You're the important one. मैं और बाकी सब लोग ये सोचते हैं. इस case में this would be I. When I'm asking this question, for instance, let's go back to this original question. What do you think about me? Over here, the main person is you, okay? Because it's about you. What do you think about me? I am secondary. That's why it becomes me. You cannot say, what do you think about I? That will be wrong. So another instance I can give you here, that my friend and me have a bet, for example. Again, this is wrong because here the primary person is your friend, so you become secondary. So therefore over here, no, in fact over here my friend and I have a bet. Why? Because over here both you and your friend are important. Okay, my friend and me have a bet is wrong. My friend and I have a bet. Something happens to me, okay, which is fine. I do this to people. So you need to really figure out where you are secondary, there you use me. The place where you feel you are of primary importance, that is where you use I. The third and the final dilemma that we'll solve in today's lesson is good versus well. Now, both of them mean acha in Hindi. Okay, good bhi acha hai, well bhi acha hai. But when we speak of someone being happy, then we say she feels good. We cannot say she feels well. Okay. For example, if you're speaking of quality, let's say of this lesson, you teach very good English is wrong. Okay, because if we're talking about quality of something, then we use the word well. Like you teach English well is right. But if you're talking about somebody's, let's say if you're talking your knowledge of English is good, that is right. But if you say your knowledge of English is well, that is again wrong. Okay, for instance, she sings good is wrong. Okay, she sings well is right. So if you're speaking about quality, for instance, you study well is right. You study good is wrong. Likewise, the lesson was put together quite well is right. The lesson that was put together quite good, again, is wrong. So good essentially means that I feel good or I have a good feeling about this. It's more to do with happiness. And when we talk about the quality of something, for instance, if you think that the quality of this lesson was good enough for you, then you can say this lesson was put together quite well. So, guys, please let me know if you have any feedback on this. You can put in your comments, and I'd be very, very happy to answer all your questions. In my next chapter, again, we'll be speaking about a few more concepts that you can probably clear that will help you speak the language better. Thank you so much.